Welcome back to the Pics. It didn't happen. I am the Jew Bag Fats King. I am joined by my brother, the sniper behind the camera. He is the Yeti. Say what's up, homie.
What's up, guys?
The Yeti.
He actually has a name. I try not to break kayfabe. I say his fucking real name too much.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's legit. I can dig that.
I try. I fail. But
We'd be terrible celebrities.
If you can hear in the background, we are joined by one of my all-time favorite guests. I think this is his third time being on the show. We are joined by that Hebrew fucking menace, mad motherfucking Maxxx. What's up, brother?
That's me. I'm that guy. Yeah, what's going on, man? I'm just staying alive as best I can these days, working a new job I like a lot. Oh boy, dying in this game I'm playing. But just like trying to maintain. Halloween is over, like the content is out, but I still working on getting in touch with the guy that I recorded it with to get the waves and get it up on, like, you know, Spotify and Bandcamp and whatnot. I had made the determination, or announced anyway, that I was going to release it at the time that I was going to. And then when it didn't happen the right way, it was just like, fuck it. It has to be out. He said it was going to be out. People need to hear it, just because I don't want to be sitting on it. And I mean, from what I've been told, the response is good, but like, since I'm just an artist, I don't know how to be a rapper, like, for real. Like, I don't even know how I would trace the numbers of how many people have, I don't know if it would say on Dropbox how many people have downloaded it or how many people have listened to it. But I do know that some homies, you know, artists and otherwise, yourself, I believe included, were pretty cool about, like, sharing it around and shit. But
I shared what I could, yeah.
I mean, well, not in case in point, it's just like, you know, again, it's just part of different. To me, it was just a thing about getting it out and having it done. Like, the real irony is that Halloween is Over was basically meant to be a, like, just because Kaleidoscope was taking too long. I felt like Kaleidoscope has even to now taking too long, even with it being relatively close to being done. And Halloween is Over was supposed to be something just real quick. In the meantime, like, most of the songs on Halloween is Over were recorded in, like, or originally recorded or written at the very least in, like, June, July, something like that. And then I, like, had these things for a while. I didn't even know there was a time I was going to call it like Demon District or some shit like that. But I just came up with the name Halloween is Over one day. It sounded really good. And then it was like, oh, maybe that's what I can call these tracks that I've been working on. And I don't know, it's weird the way that all came through, but, you know, things have been, you know, again, I don't want to, like, break into my life and shit, but things have definitely been up and down lately. And I think that's reflected in not necessarily just the music, but also the commission of getting it out. Cause boy, am I not good at that shit.
Well, you know, and that's something that you have said yourself before, that if you intend to be a fan of me, these are some things you're just going to have to deal with. And
like leaving social media, that's another one. Like, anybody that's been a fan of mine for enough years knows that this just happens. Every once in a while, it's like, oh, nope, social media's fucking my life up again. Gotta get away from it. And
I mean, that was the first fucking thing I did as soon as I seen you say that shit, was reach out personally, be like, you're gonna give me your fucking number, right?
Well, yeah, well, not for nothing. Number one, my messenger still works, but beyond that, it's like, there's a pretty good amount of people, for sure, yourself included, that, like, I do actually coordinate with and talk with on a real basis. And I mean, again, especially, like, you know, when it's been to the level where, you know, I slept in your fucking house, man. You know, like, there's a certain level with certain people where it's like, you know, it goes beyond music. It goes beyond, like, yeah, sure, that's how we know each other, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's, like, how we relate. So
yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean, again, my main thing is trying to figure out how I'm going to assail music continuously in a way that actually makes sense. Like, I was writing something the other day that may or may not ever see the light of day. And it was, like, talking about, like, I've gotten to a point where one way or another, like, for better or for worse, whether it's going to be on the outside, you know, related somehow to music in a different way, to entertainment, somehow show business, whatever, like I gotta make it. I don't have any other way out. The funeral degree is a thing where like, oh, no, that was there. You don't like, you got to own the company to really make money. And to own a funeral home is an expense I couldn't even begin to fucking assail. Like, the funeral industry is something where it'll definitely help me get a job. But as far as like far down the road, like equity, building something, putting my kids through college, that kind of shit, like music and entertainment is the only thing that I know so well that I even like would have a chance of being able to make it my career. Where like, and to that end, like making, you know, making music is a thing that nowadays where like once Kaleidoscope is done, and again, it mostly is written, I don't feel like it really needs more tracks than it has. It's like, that'll be the first time in maybe my whole career where I don't have a clear idea of what the next project is going to be. Like there's stuff that I've thought about wanting to do like collaboratively with maybe some other people or like making a collaborative project. But outside of that, like once Kaleidoscope is done, that's going to be the first time, again, pretty much in the history of my career, that I just don't have anything else on the docket. Like I'm just going to do, I don't know what my next album is going to be basically. And that's never been the case before.
Now, are you going to take that as a chance to reflect and maybe rehash some of the ideas you've had, come at this in maybe a different form? Like, okay, for example, I know a lot of guys right that are riding the rebrand train, as it were, in the sense of and some guys, for some guys, it's going to work. For others, it's not. But
it can be said of just about anything within this framework. But I will tell you this. There was a time a couple of years ago where I considered taking the Mad off and just being Maxxx. Clearly that didn't stick. I remember having a conversation with somebody who, out of respect, I will not name, but they were talking like middle, more or less like something like maybe you should change your name and maybe you should do something, you know, like rebrand basically. And I just, in my case personally, there was a time where I did honestly believe like, oh, how am I supposed to out famous Mel Gibson and, you know, George Miller's Mad Max and this and that. But I've realized as time goes by, if you do something legit and you really make something happen with it, then it doesn't really matter if your name is shared by anything else or if there's similarity between, like, I don't think that matters as much as it used to. Like, not for nothing, the only reason I'm called Mad Max is because there was a rock and roll group called The Darkness at the time that I met Jay and went out to Detroit, because they, you know, I believe in a thing called love.
I remember. Yep.
So yeah, that, what I remember Jay was telling me this as we're walking through the parking lot to, when we go to his car coming back from, I don't fucking remember, but he was like, yeah, it was like a website thing. Now, the reality of that, I think, was much more along the lines of, I don't really like this name, let's think of something better.
Yeah.
And then, but one way or another, that was what was given to me as the explanation for why we weren't going to use that name. And I think that maybe back then it would have been a bit different, but at the same time, we also live in an era where you can just put Lil in front of you, like Lil. You can just put Little in front of your name.
Yep.
And in front of something, and you know what I mean? Like, and there's a bunch of people that have done stuff like that to the point where, like, see, that's what I mean. I can't think of a specific example right now, but there definitely have been situations where
you can take that shit all the way back to the birth of hip hop. You know, there was young MC this or MC that, or you know what I mean?
Case in point.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think that what I'm gonna, you know, as far as that use this time to, so to speak, like, look, I'll tell you right now, I don't know about rebranding, so to speak, because my name is my name. I am who I am. And I just, that's always kind of what I've been doing. But with that said, I just think to myself, there are a lot of things that I kind of want to do that are very on the other side as opposed to what I've done in the past. Like, I posted this on Facebook before I stopped using it. Been listening to a lot of lo-fi lately, and I mean lo-fi beats. That's just kind of like slow, chill 808 style, East Coast hip hop beats.
Yeah.
And it seems like something I might enjoy writing, so I might do that. The homie Creeper has been talking about this thing with I don't want to give too much exposition because that's his thing, but what I want to do that relates to that is like something more along the lines of not necessarily theatric hip hop, but like, oh boy, like I don't know. It's hard to say it and have it not sound kind of goofy.
No. But you're on the cusp of something, because there's a lot of cats that I've been talking to that this is their end goal. They want to make this more than just an audio experience, because we know as horrorcore, it's all in your imagination. But seeing something on stage does help bring that imagination a little bit more to life. You know what I mean? Like sort of like what Twisted used to
do. Really?
Well, yeah, they are. They're kind of baked in. Sort of like what Twisted used to do with the creepers on stage and shit.
By the way, pop or soda, weigh in on that, because apparently that's a huge debate. So
what?
I don't know. Tell us. Yeah, it is. Is it pop or soda? It's a regional thing, but I don't know.
No, okay. So first of all, I wasn't sure that's what you were talking about, but that's an easy debate to clear up. Just read the fucking. Oh well, no, that's a performance energy drink. Get any fucking bottle of soda, and that's what it's going to say. It's going to say soda pop. So at the very least, if it's only one of those two, it's the first word, which is soda.
Oh, I did not think we were going to get into that one.
But I'm very that happens to be a topic that I am rather passionate about. In any case, no, listen, you want to know what I'm talking about is, and again, it's hard to say this shit without it sounding goofy, because I'll tell you right now, the idea of basically like performance theater, more or less, but in the sense of like horrorcore, because it would be difficult, I think anyway, to do a like, and this might sound silly because I haven't even seen Hamilton, but a Wicked Hamilton. Like
okay, I don't mean to laugh, but the idea sounds appealing, but just the presentation of it would be a bitch.
Well, because this is kind of my thing, is that number one, the farther back you look into performance theater and even musical theater, excuse me, not much has been done in the way of violence with that kind of shit. But I do happen to know that when it's done correctly, it can look really good. Case in point, years and years ago, I saw a production of Macbeth in New Jersey. Now, I wish I could remember where it is or who presented it, but the important thing to take away is that Teller from Penn and Teller was the I don't know if he was the fight choreographer, the special effects choreographer, or what exactly was his title, but basically they were like, he did magic on stage for Macbeth, to the point where like he was disappearing, like when he tried to stab one of the three witches and she just disappears behind the sword. And then there's like, it was really crazy. And the idea here is that getting violence to translate on stage is difficult, because that kind of violence, it's hard to make that like, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. It's hard to make violent, like overt, like stabbing somebody in the fucking neck type violence. It's hard to do that on stage and have it not immediately be gratuitous by its very nature.
Yeah.
Because if you show somebody on stage get fucking stabbed and bleeding and screaming, that's not the same as seeing it on a screen.
No, it's not. It'd be completely different. You're gonna get caught up in the sweep of emotions and shit.
Well, because you want to know what my thing is? I think that if people are honest about the kinds of things that really are terrifying like that, if you get good actors and actresses, and maybe I'm just not at enough theater to know for sure, but like if you hear somebody, if you go into a theater and you hear somebody scream like they're being fucking murdered and they're a good actor, that's going to be wildly off-putting. And doing that in a way where you can even continue to be artistic after you've done that, I think that's really difficult, because the only other way really to do it is doing like actual like show choreography, like dancing practically. Like, and that to me, it's really hard to make that look compelling. So my thing is like coming up with like an audible comic book. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Well, my question though is, would you expand from an existing murder tale, or would you maybe try to do a concept album of sorts to go with it? Like if this was your project.
See, that's what I mean. Like, I'm at a point where, as far as what I plan on doing for like music or whatever, I'm just gonna kind of do whatever comes to mind, like at this point. Because if I think of something and I want to do it, I really am at a point right now where there is nothing. That's sad. There's nothing stopping me from doing. So I'm just like, I want to see what comes to me. Frankly, I got to tell you, I'm always going to make the kind of music that I make as long as I continue to make music. I'm always going to do it that way. However, with that said, excuse me, there is no reason I couldn't make, for lack of a better term, pop music. I don't turn on a lot of pop beats and think, oh, that's cool, I should make something like that. But maybe I will at some point. Maybe I'll hear something that I wanted, that like, I want to go, like, I haven't like a fucking love song. I tried writing a love song years ago with Sometimes I, and I'm not even so sure how well that I don't even know how well that was received or whatever. Like, I don't know. But my point is, that's not really been my thing, but maybe it will be. At this point, I feel like I can just kind of do whatever I want.
Well,
that's got to be freeing and liberating, though. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anyway, what I was gonna say is, what I kind of think the next Mad Max album, we're gonna get a prog rock collabo with Claudio Sanchez, and we're gonna get that Mad Max classic of prog rockiness.
So I may be missing who's a good prog rock band so I can get the joke.
Coheed and Cambria is who I was.
Oh God.
The reason I mentioned is because you'd said comic book, and the comic book style and the storytelling, which is kind of the hallmark of prog rock. It tells a story through the albums. They all connect, and that's sort of what they've done. And they did a comic book that went along with it.
That's kind of cool. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
The point here is that there's clearly so much other shit that can be done with rap nowadays that it doesn't really matter what direction you want to go. You can do anything that you want to do.
Absolutely. There's so many different subgenres of rap now that you don't have to stick to one. Like, you could be a gangster rapper, you could be a trap rapper, you could be a fucking SoundCloud rapper, you could be a rap rocker.
To be fair though, those first three are all the same thing.
that is kind of true. Actually, they all are very, very derivative of each other.
A rapper that is not talking about the fucking trap.
So this is true. One time Spotify told me I listened to Indiana rap because I was listening to Pope at the time. So
Pope and Nasty will do that to your Spotify every time. I
guess that's a subgenre now, Indiana rap.
Did that mean that there was like corn and meth coming out of your fucking screen or something?
And a couple yeehaws.
That is Indiana in spades right there.
Oh, we used to live there. He still does. I know that shit. Yeah. But the only good part about Indiana is fucking New Haven. I'm just gonna say that.
Specifically, Carl.
I keep fucking forgetting to hit up Nasty. Like, been meaning to fucking talk with him forever. It's like I'm saying, everything's all fucked up lately. What the fuck is going on?
I do remember that conversation you guys had. I wasn't involved in the conversation, but at camp when you was talking about I've been hurt, that made me laugh a lot.
I don't even, that specifically, I can't say that I remember. But what
I'll refresh your memory when we're not on the air. But so this is something that we've been asking rappers going forward, and I kind of like this level of questioning, so I'm gonna stick with it. It all comes down to the live show. We know that when you're trying to present yourself to new audiences and shit. What do you do to tighten up your live show? Do you rehearse your lyrics? Do you practice anything? Like, and if you say you don't do shit, that's cool. I get it. I'm just curious. What is your method? Yeah,
listen, I will tell you like this, that I personally have taken to rehearsing more. Like, I listen to, I'll go through my set on the way to a show. I will really take a lot of time. I really try to take a good amount of time in creating my sets, even, beyond even just how I'm going to be performing them, but how they're supposed to come across. But my thing, I got to tell you, it's one thing where I know my live show suffers, and something that I need to do differently is getting somebody that is a solid hype, that like knows my shit. Because that was the one thing, that was good about, in retrospect anyway, the real one thing that was great about working with Hightown when I did all those years ago was that it was one of the only times where I undoubtedly had somebody who knew the lyric, whatever my next lyrics were, I had somebody who knew that shit. And so I was able to more confidently take breaths and know that my shit wasn't going to be missed. I was able to be more theatric with my performance. And that to me is what I think is paramount to having a good performance, is really having it. Like, I remember watching Tyler the Creator do a performance for, I think, one of these, maybe it was an award show, maybe it was fucking whatever it was. And he had his hype man off stage. He wasn't even up there with it, but he was doing it, but then he was taking breaths at a very, long enough that he could catch his breath, but very, very short, because he knew that's where it was going to be. And that is something that I think for a singular rapper, even if you have great breath control, I still think that having that is really important to the show, because it gives you the ability to be more theatrical in your movement, in your performance, just because, I've been thinking about this a lot over the last couple of years, as far as, introducing yourself to new people and people seeing your performance that have never seen you. Number one, for me, the only thing that carries my performance is passion. People see that I am super passionate about my performances, and they can feel it while they're there.
I see that a lot. There's, like I said earlier, there's a lot of cats who are leaning into this, and I mean, why wouldn't you? It's part of what we're involved in. Horror movies, comic books. We want a visual representation on top of an audio representation. So I also would like to say that it's becoming cliche at this point for a horrorcore rapper to declare themselves the embodiment of evil. If everybody's saying that, y'all can't be that. It's got to be somebody. But
you want to know what? I'm sorry. Frankly, nobody wants to say this out loud either. But if you're evil, true, actual, disturbed, disgusting, foul, hell stench evil, then you.
Yep. And that is all. I'm going to say this out loud. I believe that's the line for every good human being. If you can't cross that line, then you were still a redeemable creature.
Well, that's kind of my point, though, is that a lot of people like to, make this whole, I'm super wicked, I'm evil attitude. But again, nobody is actually going to those lengths. Nobody is actually evil to them.
I don't think anybody would want to hear that, even on wax. Because here's the thing. This is what
I've spent enough years in the underground that I've seen the kinds of people that and by the way, I will also point out, I personally believe that this character type, like this kind of person, exists solidly in the what am I thinking here? The metal scene. I think that most online trolls, real bad ones, I really do believe that most of them started in the metal scene, because metal is what really pushes and personifies. Metalocalypse is the perfect example. You know what I mean? Just the brutal shit you can possibly think of. That's what's metal, basically.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well, here's the thing. This was the point that I was getting to. Because of ICP, because the characters they portrayed, what we see as Wicked is as some kind of evil avenger. Every one of these characters are being portrayed like, okay, I won't say names, but there's a guy right now. I'm a fan of him because I like the stories he's telling. But his character is portrayed as though he is the punisher of the wicked. He is evil, but he comes after evil. So I see where everybody's going, because you said they won't cross that line. Nobody's going to rap about straight up fucking pedophilia. So everybody's trying to position themselves as these anti-heroes per se, more so than absolute evil. And I think that would be a better mindset to say than saying I'm the embodiment of evil. You get what I mean? Somebody trying to put.
But I think that's kind of the point, is that a lot of people, when they get to that level of just like, no, I mean, again, this has been my experience, that when people really feel like they've been abandoned by the world, like that real evil level, I really do think that things get to a point where that, like, they're not interested in anything good happening. They're not interested in being some kind of, like, they don't want anything to get better. It's kind of like the end of what am I thinking here? The end of American Psycho. Like, I don't see anything good to happen to anybody. I want to see bad shit happen to people. Like, I don't want my pain to go away. I want to inflict it on other people. I think that a lot of people in the metal, horrorcore, probably also BDSM communities have these, like, no, I really want to see people suffer, like sadists, basically. I think that there are people out there that really do flip it from, I've had so much bad shit happen to me that now I just want to see bad shit happen to other people. And that's, again, like, I've seen so many people who are proud that their kids watch really violent movies at very young ages. People who think that watching really violent movies is relaxing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that inherently, but what I am saying is that being the kind of person that wants to watch violence as a means of relaxation is not inherently how you watch violence to get excited. Like, that was why the Coliseum existed. That was why the Circus Maximus existed. So people could go there and get riled up and feel like crazy, watch this stuff, and then leave feeling like, oh, that was, let's do something fun. You know what I mean? It's not the kind of thing that's meant to bring somebody down. And to be inundating yourself with that, I think that it just brings you to a place where you're, like, constantly, I mean, again, inundating yourself with it, where you're marinating in fucking negativity all the time and then wondering why you're always upset.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean, like, it's ridiculous. Like, there are plenty of ways to be upset without fucking making yourself upset.
Well, I look at it like this, because I live by my Spotify shuffle and my playlist, and some of the darkest, wickedest playlists I put together, I will put in 2 or 3 albums of some really happier or more vibier shit to break up, the black evil shit that I'm listening to. Like,
you do that.
I try to keep at least a little bit of positivity in all of this fucking mess. I know that I can be my own worst enemy when it comes to my source material, the things that I'm watching, researching, doing. So I try as hard as I can to find a little bit of positivity in this, in all of this shit. And it's not fucking easy sometimes, but I believe I'm persevering.
I find it very easy all the time because, I listen to some of the.
I cannot hear you.
Really?
Big up, motherfucker.
Is it? Hold on. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
All right, cool. That was weird. Anyway, all I was gonna say is I find it pretty easy. I just put on the fun time guys like every day, and they're more hardcore than all y'all because you fucking just killed a mouse.
Oh, look, you want to know what? The interesting thing is to me that, like, I'll tell you right now, I well, that's a whole other subject, but no, Super Famous, just I give them a lot of credit for the fact that they remain consistent and original, and not even so much original, but more so that, like, if anybody else did the most tasteless faces, like the way that they did with the lucha masks, if anybody else did some shit like that, I'd say it was tacky as fuck. But in their case,
you talking about this shirt right here?
I don't know. Is it? No.
Yeah, it's the least tasteful.
Oh no, that maybe they did that for the. No, I just meant like it was the old logo, like the old Twitter logo. But it was.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Paulie got it tattooed.
See, that to me smacked of authenticity, but that, like, and that to me, like I said, that is what I think is cool about them. I mean, also Jacob is one of the better rappers in the underground generally, but the fact that they consistently put out.
He said, "Fuck you, Whip."
Shots fired.
And we won't get into that. But that they consistently put out new shit, and it continues to rise in quality as time goes by. So that's why, you know, at the very least, the idea of Super Famous, I still remain impressed by. In any case, my main thing too, dude, I gotta tell you, at a certain point, I do this underground horrorcore shit the way that I do it because it's where I've always been. It's what I believe in. It's what I do, and it's what I feel. But I will also say that, like I said, I gotta be completely honest with you, dude. I'd sell out in a fucking second. If
And anybody who says they wouldn't is a fucking liar. I don't care what anybody says.
No, I gotta tell you, I think that there's plenty of people within the actual like scene, within the, you know, the framework or whatever. I think that there's plenty of them who wouldn't. But you want to know that like would get the opportunity to be like, nah, I'm gonna choose integrity, and I'm gonna do my thing, and no, you can't buy me. I think there's plenty of people like that. My point is that, and we've had this discussion before, the ceiling for the Juggalo Underground is so fucking low, you have to limbo in the building. Yep. So at the end of the day, why anybody would waste their time fighting to be the king of this trash heap makes no sense to me. And I would gladly exit the underground as a means of like Vinny Paz or Ill Bill or any of those people. I'm not saying I'm on that level at any rate. What I am, however, saying is those guys don't give a fuck about what other rappers are listening to their music, about what kinds of fans are coming to their shows, or anything other than what can I do to continue pushing my craft and, you know, servicing my fan base. Like, to me, I think that I just need to figure out how to get my shit in front of more people, just generally. I think there's plenty of people out there that would like the stuff that I've already made. They would like the stuff that I will make someday. It's just a matter of, I don't really know which buttons to push or what forms to fill out as far as getting myself properly promoted. And I also don't really have as much of a budget to go after, like, you know, XXL or Vice or fucking whatever. So, like, at a certain point, I'm in the underground because this is what I know how to do. I've met other people that, like, the music that they make, even though nobody knows who they are, even though they're just starting out, they've only been rapping for a couple of years, they're not, like, you know, well known, they're not established. Just because they make a certain kind of rap, inherently there will be more people at their shows than any show that we do. Yeah. Because the shows that we do, we promote only to ourselves and only on Facebook, more or less. And then, which the hilarity of that is that motherfuckers will book a show, only promote on Facebook, and then wonder why no one shows up. Yep. For me, I got to hip hop zombies ain't my neighbors. I was hoping that the couple of the few artists that we had involved in the Midwest were going to do a little bit more to, you know, promote the show that way and, you know, have a little bit more going on there. But that really didn't end up happening. Although I will say I still in many ways consider those shows a success, because the people that did show up had a great time. I lost very little money overall, based on the second show. We did make a good couple $100 that paid for a lot of the gas. So it was like, it was a good experience. It showed me that this is obviously not the kind of thing that I'm astute, at doing. It's not really my strong suit, but we still try to do it. But it's like, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, people will exclusively promote to their fan base that already knows about them, and then be confused as to why nobody that has never heard of their music before showed up to their show. It's a double standard. And again, this is why I'm saying I would love to figure out a way to start making music for like different genres and I'd love to be a nerdcore rapper, just to be fucking part of a different scene for a little bit.
You're gonna hook up with Webby over there?
MC Chris.
Is that what he does?
Webby has like all kinds of raps about, like, there's one I recall that I love about Wednesday Addams. He talks about video games, Mario Kart. He's actually got a sleeve of like Nintendo characters, I think, on one arm.
I honestly wouldn't doubt that. What I will say is that I don't know a ton about Webby, but I do know that whether or not he's a nerd rapper, he pushes kind of a tough guy persona with a lot of stuff. Like, there was a song that my homies did some video work in, like they played as extras basically, but in Narcos, and this dude Millie's from Massachusetts was in it. He's apparently like a drug rapper. He works with Jadakiss, but yeah, like I didn't know that was the kind of rapper that necessarily he was. I can imagine him being that kind of guy, but like I just don't know about so many people. I don't pay attention to nobody.
Well, the thing about nerdcore that I feel like it doesn't get enough fucking credit is we all fucking love it. You can't pretend like this world isn't ruled by nerd culture at this point. But that's for a whole other. What was that?
Esports are a thing, so
Yeah, esports are a thing.
What was that? Oh, like, no, you're absolutely right, and that's why I think it's kind of funny that people do try to like separate themselves from the social aspect of being nerdy, even though like that was what I was trying to say in Hyphy Nerd, like the fact that I remember being a fucking nerd back when that shit wasn't cool at all. You weren't like, well, wasn't nobody like, there was no appeal in that. We were just
I used to get in fights because of my D&D dice. It was a guaranteed fucking thing.
One good thing about that nerd life becoming a little more pop accepted, thank you Marvel, I guess, is the hygiene overall has improved because there's a larger pool and now there could actually be females there. So I appreciated that.
So I will give that to you. There is definitely truth. I mean, you want to know the other place where that becomes extremely true is the anime community, and that's because in the anime community, the Black community has become more involved in anime, and the Black community generally values hygiene more so than white people do.
Oh yeah,
so,
this is true.
So at that point, yeah, conventions have started to smell a lot better, which is
your colognes, your lotions, all of it.
That's what I'm saying. So that is definitely good. That is a good way for things to have gone, I will definitely say. But I am also going to, okay, that's interesting. I will also say that I think this is something that I really, with hiphopzombies.com and Hip Hop Zombies just in general, that I really want to expound on, but I've had a hard time, making it, figuring it out, is I really do believe, like Jordan Peele shows it, that there is a big cross section between the horror world and the hip hop world. Like, there's a lot more there than a lot of people are willing to admit. And I think that it's like, I think it sucks that there's just not that much, oh, thank God, of like, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. It's just, I don't think that it gets, like, again, horror and hip hop, like what are the scary hip hop movies that anybody can even think of? Fucking.
Hold on, fucking Tales from the Hood. Shit. Jimmy Bones.
Bones. That's what I was gonna say. Bones and Tales from the Hood are really the only two legit ones. Because Leprechaun in the Hood, I don't think was very.
It's campy. It's funny. You watch it to laugh. It's not because it has a genuinely good horror. Jimmy Bones actually turns into a damn good little supernatural slasher flick, and Snoop's good in it. He's playing Snoop. How hard is it to play Snoop?
Yeah, I mean, look, you ain't wrong about that. But what do I get out of here now? I'm gonna plug my phone in real quick here. I definitely think that not enough has been done in most cases in the way of like properly doing
Ladies and gentlemen, Mad Max's crotch.
Very well in most cases, which is why I think that there should be more emphasis on it. But like that's to me, that's why it makes me sad that horrorcore does not get any mainstream recognition, because I think that the cross section between horror and hip hop is palpable. I think that there's a lot there, and that people just kind of don't want to have to like.
I think what needs to happen, if you really want to see that connection really get made properly, especially for horrorcore, not just hip hop in general, you're going to have to see a huge horror movie that has at least one or two cuts on the soundtrack from our side. You know what I mean?
See, I don't disagree with that, but I think that in most cases, seeing a movie or anything like really major have something from our side. I mean, number one, the only way I really see that happening is in some kind of horror movie. And most of the horror movies nowadays are all like, fucking hoity-toity intellectual movies. Like,
yeah,
I see a lot of gratuitous horror anymore. And I
don't know. We did see the return of Leatherface. And the fact that Michael Myers is new all over again. So, and eventually we're going to get that remake for Jason as well. It's just going to happen.
Jason 32 in deep space.
Because you say we're going to get the remake of Jason. How are we going to get the remake of Jason when the only thing anybody relates with Jason is Jason? The original, his mother wasn't even fucking part of it. Like, his mother was the one killing everybody, wasn't him?
Yeah, in the first Friday the 13th, you're absolutely right. What I mean so is like the new thing that people are doing in horror is they're saying forget all the sequels. Now we're telling the definitive story. This is what happened after the original movie. You've seen it with Halloween. They literally just did it with the new Texas Chainsaw. It's the new way to make horror movies new again.
So wait, so the new Texas Chainsaw basically says we've redacted the previous everything, and this is the actual.
Fuck everything that happened. This is what happened after the first movie. This is 20 years in the future, or to the present, or whatever the fuck.
You know what? See, I think that's interesting, just because I can understand maybe why they do it that way, but.
Well, it's the only way to make these old characters seem fresh and new again, is you have to see like, all right, well, all these campy, dopey fucking sequels that made these characters diluted and not make any sense, those never happened. You know what I mean? In the new Halloween, we don't live in a universe where Busta Rhymes kung fu fought Michael Myers.
Okay. Well, no, see, that much I can understand, where certain installments get redacted. And
Fuck, that really happened.
That much I can understand, but like, to me, the idea of doing Texas Chainsaw in a way where, oh yeah, so no, the rest of the stories didn't actually happen at all, and basically they just hung out for the last 20 years doing Leatherface stuff, and now somebody finally decided to come back. That sounds more like the company that owns the rights was just like, we don't want to have to write cleverly enough to explain this.
Well, yeah,
So,
no, I'm not. I am going to say that it's becoming cliche now that we've seen it more than once or twice, because it's the new thing. So I get what you're saying, but in the case of Leatherface, they try to explain it like, and if you've not seen the movie, I don't give a fuck. Spoiler alert. They kind of explain it that like that he was taken in by this old woman who calmed his special boy rage, and when she dies, it snaps him off again.
interesting. Okay. I mean, I suppose I could see something like that, but that also feels super like a cop out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a total fucking cop out. Total cop out. You're not wrong. But
Terrible
yeah,
movie. Don't watch that shit.
it's not bad. It's not great.
I was talking about Cop Out. It was garbage.
Oh God, never watch Cop Out. We made that mistake. Never watch Cop Out.
It's a big thing too, because again, in horrorcore, man, I really think about it where the real problem is that most horrorcore isn't, and most people that do horrorcore don't even want to do horrorcore anymore. Like they don't really
No,
like.
there's a lot of people that want to leave the fucking genre so bad and are actively trying to. I won't name names.
Yeah, no, yeah, like my fucking self. I will openly. I'll always make horrorcore music, but somebody get me the fuck out of the horror scene. Like seriously.
Oh Jesus Christ!
First of all, look, you want to know what? It's really aggravating. Everybody's a juggalo, but nobody wants to fucking talk about it. And everybody is like, got it. Like, do you have any idea how many people have told me that psychopathic won't work with me because of how closely I worked with a lot of people in the past? That like that's why I didn't get booked for the gathering, and that's why they're not interested in talking to me. I'm not even saying I think that shit is true because I don't. But the amount of times I've heard people say it, and the amount of other people who I know that feel like if they're working with some group, that means they can't work with another. Like, it's mind bending to me. And especially when none of us are making money, all right? None of us are making money to a point where this is all we do. I would be willing to bet, I haven't seen anybody's fucking books, but you want to know what? I would be willing to bet that the majority of horrorcore underground rappers do not make the lion's share of their money every month from music. I believe that some of them do, and I'd be willing to say most of them make a lot more than I do. But I do not believe that the majority of them are paying their bills with it. I will stand on that. And that to me, at the very least, if that's not the way that if you're not using this world and it's not paying your bills every single month, what are you worried about? Who likes you and who doesn't?
Due to some circumstances beyond ours or his control, Maxx had to end the call due to a personal emergency. We don't know what the deal is. I'm hoping
wish him well.
We wish him well. Love that motherfucker. Love talking to him. If you ever get a chance to talk to him at a show, if he lets you, bullshit with him. It's such a great conversation, and that's why I wanted to have him on, because we always have a great conversation when Maxx is on. It might meander a bit, but who gives a shit? That's kind of what we do. It's a friendly conversation, and that's what we try to have here. We want to feel like you're sitting on the couch getting high with us. We talked about that. So I guess we want to close this up. I have not watched it yet, so I don't know if I'm gonna. But there's a gritty, edgy reboot of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, yeah. I'm leaning.
And like, man, like I don't know how they got Will Smith to co-sign on this, because like, here's the thing, like the characters portrayed were pretty. The way they were portrayed in the original show was, man, Uncle Phil was a fucking upstanding, good ass dude. Aunt Viv was a strong black man or black woman, and even though I'm high, leave me alone. And even though Carlton was a nerd, he was true to his fucking beliefs, and he wouldn't break any. If he had personal codes, he wouldn't break them. In this new shit, somehow or another, Uncle Phil is a crooked politician. Carlton be doing coke, and Hillary's a lesbian. Not that I give a shit about what her sexual preference is. I'm just saying, true to the characters, Hillary Banks was a man machine. She just went through dudes. You know, I hate this idea of taking these positive-ish characters and having to shit on them to make a new show.
Well, and that's how we grew up, the 90s sitcom. They were all very campy and, upbeat. And now everything has to be gritty, and everybody, instead of making something new, they're just let's take something that people loved and then we're going to make it gritty in real life. And it fucking sucks. Like, I don't want to see a gritty version of the Fresh Prince. I really don't. Like, that's what made it enjoyable, was it was campy. It was happy. Like, and
you know
sometimes
what?
there'd be a lesson.
I was getting ready to say, when the show did get gritty and it did have a message, it hit even fucking harder.
Yeah. Because like when Will broke down, you know, why doesn't he want me, man?
Oh man,
so
oh
hard.
man, that I still get a little weepy eyed when I
yeah.
see that shit pop up on my fucking Facebook feeds and shit.
Yeah.
Or like you know, when they got held up by the racist white cops. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's things like that. If everything is dark and everything is edgy, you don't get that message with the fucking show. It's literally just
where you just get power creep, where everything has to be grittier than the last time, and what's going to be more extreme than the last time. And it's just, you know, you show I think a good analogy for this is, I guess in theater, one of a common saying is, if you show a gun in scene 1, you better
Chekhov's gun.
by
You
scene
have
3.
to fucking use Chekhov's gun. You know what's funny? I do this all the time. I liken it to pro wrestling. Me and Casey will be watching it, and they'll pull out a table and they'll set it up, and I'll look at her. I'll be like, they'll be back for that, and they are. They're always back for that. It's Chekhov's table. But it's just some shit's just becoming so predictable. It's so predictable, and it's so easy to fucking to dissect as you're watching it, that it makes it not fun to watch anymore.
Yeah. It really is.
If you guys want to hear us talk more nerd shit, we'll be coming back with our nerd crew in a couple weeks. I'm not sure when, but we'll be lining something up. There's some shit brewing. Maybe after
wait for our powers to unite.
Maybe after our Doctor Strange shit. I think we've come up with a name. We're gonna call ourselves the Illuminati.
Man, they're gonna come for us.
I'm not afraid at all. They always come for me. But anyway. I hope you have enjoyed this specific episode. We always enjoy making them. You can find us at Pics It Didn't Happen Official on Instagram, Pics It Didn't Happen on YouTube, Pics It Didn't Happen on Facebook. You can find me at Fats King on Facebook and Instagram. Pretty easy. It's with the Z.
I'm at Yet I Night. You can find me on Instagram.
Go like his fucking pictures.
Yeah, at least do that, because like,
they're really fucking good. Like, if you don't give a shit about what we're doing here, cool, I don't care. Like this man's fucking pictures.
Yeah, seriously, like, go like the pictures, because then I can do more cool pictures of other bands, and hopefully some of
the best shots in the underground. And that's not just me talking my homie up. But until next time, y'all. Peace.
We're out.